The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chambers glittered under the light of 3 suns. Inside, beings from 100 different worlds sat in circular rows, their attention focused on Admiral Gray as he stood at the center podium. His blue-tinted skin reflected the ambient lighting as he gestured at the holographic display showing Earth and its colonies. "These humans," Admiral Gray said, his voice filled with contempt, "have expanded too quickly. In just 50 years since their discovery of faster-than-light travel, they have established colonies on 17 worlds. This rate of expansion cannot be allowed to continue." The council members murmured among themselves. Some nodded in agreement, while others showed signs of concern. Earth had indeed surprised everyone with its rapid progress since joining the galactic community. Council member Mark, one of the few who had spent time studying human civilization, raised his hand. "Admiral, with all due respect, perhaps we should open a dialogue with Earth first. Their technological growth rate suggests." "Dialogue?" Admiral Gray laughed, cutting him off. "They are barely more than primitives who got lucky with FTL technology. Their ships still used physical weapons instead of energy beams. Their shields are basic at best. No, the time for dialogue is past. We must act now before they become a real threat." The Admiral's words echoed through the chamber. He pulled up new images showing Earth's mining colonies in their solar system's asteroid belt. "I propose a simple containment action. We destroy these 3 mining colonies, a quick strike to show them their place in the galaxy. They will have no choice but to accept our authority after that." The council voted. The measure passed, though not unanimously. Council member Mark and a few others recorded their opposition, but they were in the minority. 24 hours later, 3 council battleships dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's asteroid belt. Each ship was nearly 2 miles long, their hulls gleaming with advanced energy shields that could repel any known weapon. They approached the mining colonies with their weapons charged. In the largest mining colony, Base Alpha, Shift Supervisor Tom Rogers was checking the latest ore shipment when the first alarm sounded. He rushed to the control room, his boots clanking against the metal floor. "What's happening?" he asked the monitoring team. "3 large vessels just appeared," said Lisa, the sensor operator. Her face had gone pale as she stared at the readings. "They're council ships, but they're charging weapons." Tom's blood ran cold. The council had always been condescending toward humans, but an attack? This was unthinkable. He slammed his hand on the emergency broadcast button. "All personnel, this is not a drill. Everyone to the escape pods immediately. I repeat, this is not." The first blast hit before he could finish. The entire station shook violently. Warning lights flashed everywhere as systems began to fail. "They're targeting our life support systems," Lisa shouted, her fingers flying over the controls. "They're trying to kill everyone." Tom grabbed the communication console. "Earth Command, this is Base Alpha. We are under attack by Council forces." There. The second blast cut off all power. In the darkness, Tom could hear the hiss of escaping air. He grabbed Lisa's arm and pulled her toward the emergency exits. "Run." Similar scenes played out across all 3 mining colonies. The council ships were methodical in their destruction, targeting life support systems first, then communication arrays, and finally the structural supports. Within an hour, all 3 colonies were reduced to floating debris. Admiral Gray watched the recording of the attack from his command ship. "Send the message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them that this was just a taste of our power. They will accept our authority over their expansion, or we will strike their planetary colonies next." But as the message was being prepared, something unexpected happened. All 3 council ships suddenly lost contact with their command center. Their last transmission mentioned strange energy readings, then nothing but silence. Back on Earth, in a deep underground facility, Commander James Stone watched the attack recordings with cold fury in his eyes. Around him, military officers and civilian leaders had gathered for an emergency meeting. "They think we're primitives," Commander Stone said quietly. They think we've shown them all our cards. A grim smile crossed his face as he pressed a button, revealing hidden screens showing hundreds of advanced chips that no alien had ever seen. Let them think that, when we strike back, they'll learn just how wrong they were about humanity. The first shots had been fired, but while the Council thought they had struck a devastating blow, they had no idea that they had just awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity's retaliation was about to show the galaxy why you should never underestimate Earth. The United Earth Defense Command bunker buzzed with activity. 300 feet underground, military leaders from every nation sat around a massive table, their faces illuminated by holographic displays showing the destruction of the mining colonies. The air was thick with tension and barely contained rage. Commander James Stone stood at the head of the table, his gray eyes reflecting the blue glow of the holograms. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice steady despite the anger burning inside him. "The Council thinks they've caught us unprepared. They expect us to beg for mercy." He pressed a button on his console, and the room's lighting changed. New holograms appeared, showing massive shipyards hidden inside hollow mountains and beneath Earth's oceans. In these secret facilities, hundreds of advanced warships waited, their designs unlike anything the Council had ever seen. "Project Thunderbolt," Commander Stone announced. "For the past 50 years, while we pretended to be struggling with basic spaceflight, we've been preparing for exactly this kind of threat." Dr. Anna Miller, chief scientist of the project, stepped forward. Her white lab coat stood out among the military uniforms. "The Council's biggest advantage has always been their energy shields," she said, bringing up technical diagrams. "They think we're still using primitive projectile weapons because that's all we've shown them. They don't know about these." The hologram showed a new type of missile, its internal workings complex yet elegant. "Quantum-phased warheads," she explained. "They pass right through energy shields as if they weren't there. We've been testing them in secret for years." Captain Robert Wells, commander of Earth's Hidden Fleet, spoke next. "Our ships use metamaterial cloaking. The Council's sensors can't detect them because they're looking for engine signatures that we don't use. We have 30 battle groups ready to deploy, all equipped with Dr. Miller's weapons." The room erupted in murmurs of approval. General Harris, the oldest officer present, raised his hand. "The Council killed over 3,000 civilians in those mining colonies. What's our response?" Commander Stone's expression hardened. "We've already begun. Those 3 Council ships that attacked our colonies, they weren't destroyed by accident. That was a field test of our stealth fighters. The Council doesn't even know what hit them." He brought up a new tactical display showing the location of every Council military base within 100 light-years of Earth. "Our real response begins in 6 hours. The Council thinks they're dealing with a primitive species that just got lucky with FTL travel. They're about to learn how wrong they are." Dr. Miller interrupted with urgent news from her tablet. "Commander, we're picking up Council communications. They're planning to announce our submission to the galaxy. They think we're going to surrender because we haven't responded yet." Commander Stone smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Perfect. Let them think that. Captain Wells, deploy the fleet. Dr. Miller, activate the quantum communication network. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you attack Earth." The next few hours were a flurry of activity. Deep in their hidden bases, crews boarded their ships. These weren't the simple vessels the Council had seen before. These ships were Earth's real fleet, built in secret, while showing the galaxy only what they wanted to see. In his private office, Commander Stone watched the deployment through secure feeds. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Tom Rogers, one of the few survivors from Base Alpha, still wearing medical bandages. "Commander," Tom said, his voice rough with emotion, "I lost a lot of good people in that attack. Make sure they pay for it." Stone nodded solemnly. "The Council thinks they know everything about us, Tom. They see our cities, our public technology, our civilian ships, and think they understand humanity. But they never learned the most important lesson about Earth, We survived countless wars among ourselves by always preparing for the worst. We never show all our cards until we have to." He turned back to the tactical display, where hundreds of stealth ships were moving into position. The Council wanted to teach us a lesson about our place in the galaxy. Instead, they're about to learn one about humanity. We're not just some primitive species they can push around. We're the descendants of warriors, survivors, and innovators. And we're about to show them exactly what that means. As the Earth fleet moved silently through space, the Council remained unaware of what was coming. They had started this fight thinking they were dealing with primitives. They were about to discover just how wrong they were about humanity's true capabilities. Admiral Gray stood proudly in the Council's fuel processing station, watching massive ships refuel through the reinforced viewing windows. The station was the lifeline of the Council's fleet, processing special fuel for their advanced engines. Its location was secret, and its defenses were considered unbreakable. "Sir," a junior officer approached him, "Earth still hasn't responded to our message. Should we prepare another strike?" The Admiral waved his hand dismissively. "They're probably still trying to understand what happened. Primitives tend to be slow-to." A loud alarm cut him off. Red lights began flashing throughout the station. "Sir," another officer shouted, "multiple objects just appeared from nowhere." They're Earth ships." Admiral Gray rushed to the control center. The displays showed dozens of sleek, dark vessels appearing as if from thin air. They looked nothing like the crude ships Earth had shown the galaxy before. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their technology isn't advanced enough for cloaking." Captain Robert Wells sat in the command chair of the Earth flagship Thunder One. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency. "All ships, weapons free," he ordered. "Remember your training. Hit their weak points exactly as planned." The Earth fleet opened fire. But instead of the primitive missiles the Council expected, they launched weapons that seemed to ignore the station's powerful shields completely. The quantum phase warheads passed through the energy barriers like they weren't even there. Inside the station, chaos erupted. Admiral Gray watched in horror as explosion after explosion rocked the massive structure. "Return fire," he ordered. "Launch all defensive fighters." But the Earth ships were already moving, executing complex maneuvers that seemed impossible for their size. They split into smaller groups, each targeting specific parts of the station with surgical precision. "Sir," Dr. Miller's voice came through on Captain Wells' command screen. "The asteroid launchers are in position." This was humanity's second surprise. While the Council focused on energy weapons, Earth had perfected the art of using asteroids as weapons. Hidden thrusters attached to massive space rocks activated, sending them hurtling toward the station's weakest points. Admiral Gray stared in disbelief as his sensors showed the incoming asteroids. "This is impossible," he muttered. "They were supposed to be primitives. They were supposed to be weak." The station's defenses, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, proved useless against the massive rocks. The first asteroid struck with devastating force, tearing through multiple levels of the station. "All Earth ships, pull back to safe distance," Captain Wells ordered. "Time to show them our third surprise." The Earth fleet retreated quickly, leaving the Council forces confused. Then, small devices left behind by the Earth ships activated. They created a quantum field that interacted with the station's fuel supplies. The reaction was catastrophic. The special fuel that powered Council ships began to destabilize. Chain reactions spread through the storage tanks. "Evacuate," Admiral Gray shouted. "Everyone to the escape pods." But he knew it was too late for many of his people. From a safe distance, Commander Stone watched the operation through secure feeds. "Status report," he asked. "Primary target destroyed, sir," Captain Wells responded. "The Council just lost 90% of their fuel processing capability in this sector. Secondary targets also eliminated. Minimal casualties on our side." The station erupted in a massive explosion that lit up space like a new sun. Escape pods scattered in all directions, carrying survivors who could barely believe what had happened. In the council chambers, the news of the attack caused an uproar. Council member Mark stood up, his voice cutting through the chaos. "I warned you," he shouted. "I told you we didn't understand them. They were never primitives. They were testing us, watching us, learning our weaknesses." Commander Stone made one final call to end the operation. "Send the message," he ordered. Throughout council space, every communication device received the same transmission. "This was just our first response. You killed our civilians. You attacked without provocation. Now you've seen a fraction of our real power. The choice is yours. End this now, or find out what else humanity has been hiding." The galaxy was changing. In just one day, humanity had gone from being seen as primitive newcomers to becoming one of the most feared forces in space. And they were just getting started. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council was nothing short of chaos. The Grand Crystal Chamber, usually a place of order and dignity, now echoed with angry shouts and accusations. The destruction of their main fuel processing station had sent shockwaves through the entire galaxy. Admiral Gray stood before them all, his blue skin now pale with stress. "We must unite against this threat," he shouted over the noise. "Earth has revealed itself as too dangerous to be allowed to continue." Council member Mark's voice cut through the chaos. "Too dangerous? You mean they're too dangerous because they defended themselves after you attacked their civilian colonies?" The chamber grew quiet. "We're in this situation because of your arrogance, Admiral." The council's high leader stepped forward, his ancient eyes scanning the room. "We have received reports from neutral worlds," he announced. "Many are refusing to join any action against Earth. They say," he paused, looking uncomfortable, "they say Earth's response was justified." This news hit Admiral Gray like a physical blow. He had expected the neutral species to rally behind the council. Instead, they were siding with Earth. Meanwhile, deep in space, Earth's ships were demonstrating a new kind of warfare that left council commanders baffled. Captain Wells led a small group of stealth ships in hit-and-run attacks that seemed to come from nowhere. "Target in sight," his tactical officer reported. "Council supply convoy, minimal escort." Wells smiled. "Show them our new trick. Activate the mirror drones." Hundreds of small drones launched from the Earth ships, each projecting holographic images of warships. The Council escort vessels suddenly found themselves surrounded by what appeared to be a massive fleet. "They're breaking formation," the tactical officer reported with satisfaction. "Their escorts are scattering." "Take the supplies," Wells ordered. "Clean and quick, just like we practiced." Within minutes, the entire convoy was captured, its valuable cargo now in Earth's hands. Not a single shot had been fired. Back in the council chambers, reports of similar attacks kept coming in. Admiral Gray's face grew darker with each new message. "They're using tactics we've never seen before," he admitted reluctantly. "Their ships appear and disappear at will. They're attacking our supply lines, but we can't predict where they'll strike next. Traditional fleet movements are useless against them." A younger council member stood up. Perhaps we should consider opening diplomatic channels." "Diplomacy?" Admiral Gray spun around. "After what they did to our fuel station." "After what you did to their colonies," Council member Mark corrected. "Face it, Admiral, your plan to contain humanity has backfired spectacularly. Instead of showing them their place in the galaxy, you've revealed their true power and our own vulnerabilities." In Earth's command center, Commander Stone reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. Dr. Miller stood beside him, analyzing data from their raids. "The Council's response time is getting slower," she noted. "Their ships are starting to run low on fuel, without their main processing station." Stone nodded. "And our raids are doing more than just capturing supplies. Every successful attack shows the galaxy that the mighty Council isn't as powerful as everyone thought." A communication officer rushed in. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from several Council worlds. There, he paused, double-checking his data. They're requesting private peace talks. They want to negotiate separately from the main council. This was exactly what Stone had hoped for. The council's unity was cracking. Their reputation for invincibility was shattered. And it had all happened because they had underestimated humanity. Send them our terms, Stone ordered. But make it clear, we'll only consider peace if they support major reforms in how the council operates. As the message was sent, Stone looked at the tactical display showing Earth's ships scattered across council space, striking at will, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. The council started this thinking they were teaching primitives a lesson, he said quietly. Instead, humanity is teaching them something. Never judge a species by what they choose to show you. Sometimes, the quietest ones are the most dangerous. The war was far from over, but the balance of power had shifted. The galaxy would never be the same, and the council was learning a harsh lesson about the true nature of humanity. Dr. Anna Miller stood in front of the gathered military leaders, her hand steady as she activated the holographic display. Above the table, an image of the sun appeared, with strange devices orbiting around it. Project Solar Storm is ready, she announced. While the council has been distracted by our fleet actions, we've completed the final tests. This is humanity's ultimate weapon. Commander Stone leaned forward, his eyes reflecting the golden light of the holographic sun. Explain it to our guests, he said, gesturing to the representatives from neutral alien worlds who had secretly come to Earth. Dr. Miller nodded. For decades, the council has believed their energy shields were unbeatable. But we discovered something they never thought of. We can use their own star's power against them. The hologram zoomed in on one of the orbiting devices. These are solar flare manipulators. They don't just harness solar energy. They can direct and amplify it. We can turn any star into a weapon. In space, Admiral Gray's remaining fleet approached Earth's solar system. Despite their recent losses, he had gathered every available ship for one final attack. His pride wouldn't let him accept defeat. Earth has clever tricks, he told his commanders, but they can't stand against the combined power of our remaining fleet. We'll show them why the Council has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. But as his fleet prepared to jump into Earth's system, emergency alarms blared across every ship. Their own sun, many light years away, was acting strangely. On Earth, Dr. Miller watched the readings with satisfaction. Solar storm initiating, she reported. Target: the Council's home star. The devices around the Council's sun activated. Massive solar flares erupted, but instead of spreading randomly into space, they focused into concentrated beams. These artificial solar flares bypassed all known shield technology. After all, how do you shield against the power of a star? Admiral Gray watched in horror as reports came in from his homeworld. The carefully directed solar flares were destroying military installations across the planet. No shields could stop them. The Council's most powerful weapons were useless. Impossible, he whispered. They've weaponized our own sun. Captain Wells' voice came through on all Council frequencies. This is just a demonstration, he announced. We've installed these devices around several stars in Council space. Surrender now, or we'll show you what a real solar storm looks like. In the Council chambers, panic erupted. Their greatest advantage, their advanced shield technology, was now worthless. Earth hadn't just caught up to their level of technology. They'd found a way to bypass it completely. Council member Mark stood up. We must surrender, he declared. Earth has proven they understand things about the galaxy that we never imagined. And they've shown remarkable restraint. They could have destroyed our worlds, but they chose to only target military installations. Back on Earth, Commander Stone received the first surrender messages. They came not just from the Council, but from dozens of worlds that had supported them. Nobody wanted to risk facing Earth's new weapon. Dr. Miller approached him privately. Should we tell them? She asked quietly. Stone shook his head. No, let them believe we can weaponize any star we choose. The truth, that we can only do it to stars with the right magnetic properties, and that it took us years to set up just these few. That stays secret. He looked at the tactical display, showing Council forces retreating across the galaxy. Sometimes, the fear of a weapon is more powerful than the weapon itself. The representatives from neutral worlds watched all this with amazement. One of them turned to Commander Stone. "You could have used this weapon from the start," he said. "Why wait?" Stone's expression was serious. "Because humanity doesn't want to rule through fear. We wanted to show that we could win through skill and strategy first. The solar storm is our last resort, a reminder that attacking Earth has consequences." As news of Earth's solar weapons spread across the galaxy, more and more worlds began reaching out for peace talks. Humanity had changed the balance of power forever, not just through superior weapons, but through smarter thinking. The Council was learning that true power isn't just about having the biggest weapons. It's about having the wisdom to know when and how to use them. The Grand Crystal Chamber of the Galactic Council, once a symbol of unity and power, now resembled a battlefield. Not with weapons and soldiers, but with angry representatives shouting and demanding answers. The mighty council was tearing itself apart from within. "Admiral Gray must be arrested," one member shouted, pointing at the blue-skinned military leader who stood in the center. "His actions have brought us to the brink of destruction." Admiral Gray had lost his proud stance. His shoulders slumped as he faced the anger of those who had once respected him. "Everything I did was to protect the Council's power," he said weakly. "Protect?" Council member Mark laughed bitterly. "You've destroyed it. Look around you. Half the member worlds have already opened separate peace talks with Earth." The High Leader called for order, but his voice held none of its former authority. Reports kept flowing in. More Council worlds were breaking away, seeking independent alliances with Earth. The humans' demonstration of the solar storm weapon had shattered the Council's image of invincibility. On the Council's homeworld, protests filled the streets. Citizens demanded changes in leadership, reforms in how the Council operated, and immediate peace with Earth. They had seen their mighty shields fail against Earth's weapons, watched their military retreat in defeat, and now they wanted answers. Commander Stone watched all this through secure feeds in Earth's command center. Captain Wells stood beside him, reading the latest intelligence reports. "Sir," Wells said, "3 more Council worlds have contacted us. They're offering to share their advanced technology in exchange for protection against Council retaliation." He paused. "Though I doubt the Council can retaliate against anyone now." Stone nodded. "And Admiral Gray?" "Under arrest by his own people. The Council's military command is in chaos. Some fleets are standing down, others are pledging loyalty to their homeworlds instead of the Council. It's exactly what we expected." Dr. Miller entered the room, her tablet displaying new data. "The neutral worlds are amazed," she reported. "They can't believe how quickly we brought down the Council. Some are calling it the greatest strategic victory in galactic history." Stone allowed himself a small smile. The Council spent 10,000 years building their power through fear and advanced technology. We broke them in less than a month by showing both were meaningless. A junior officer rushed in. "Commander, the Council's High Leader is requesting an emergency meeting. He's offering unconditional surrender." The room fell silent. This was more than they had hoped for. The Council wasn't just accepting defeat. They were giving Earth complete control over the terms of peace. In the Council chambers, the High Leader made the announcement. His voice trembled as he spoke to the scattered remains of his once mighty government. "We have no choice. Earth has proven themselves not just our military superior, but our strategic superior as well. They could have destroyed us, but they chose precision and restraint." Council member Mark stepped forward. "Perhaps this is what the galaxy needed. The Council had grown too proud, too set in its ways. Earth has shown us that there are always new things to learn, new ways to think." As the Council debated their surrender terms, private messages flooded Earth's diplomatic channels. Council world after Council world, each trying to be the first to establish good relations with humanity. They offered technology, resources, trade deals, anything to secure Earth's favor. Commander Stone read through the offers with careful attention. "Send the same response to all of them," he ordered. "Tell them Earth is willing to work with anyone who accepts our core demands: universal rights for all species, an end to military bullying, and a new galactic charter that protects both the strong and the weak." In just a few weeks, humanity had gone from being seen as primitives to becoming the most powerful force in the galaxy. But more importantly, they had done it without becoming the monsters they had fought against. The Council was crumbling, but from its ruins, a new and better galactic order was about to rise. And this time, humanity would help build it right. 1 year after the Council's surrender, the Crystal Chamber looked very different. The circular rows of seats now held representatives from every spacefaring species, not just Council members. At the center of the chamber, Commander Stone stood where Admiral Gray had once proclaimed humanity's weakness. "The reformed Galactic Alliance is now officially established," Stone announced, his voice carrying to every corner of the vast room. "No longer will any single group dominate the galaxy. Every species, whether they've had faster-than-light travel for 10,000 years or 10 days, will have an equal voice." Council member Mark, now serving as a bridge between the old order and the new, smiled from his seat. The changes of the past year had proven him right about humanity. They hadn't used their victory to establish themselves as the new tyrants of the galaxy. Instead, they had worked to create something better. Dr. Miller sat in Earth's section, reviewing the technology sharing agreements on her tablet. Under the new system, advanced technology would be available to all species that proved they would use it responsibly. The Council's old practice of hoarding knowledge was over. "Commander," she whispered as Stone returned to his seat, "the solar storm projectors." Stone nodded. They had finally revealed the truth about their superweapon, that it only worked on certain types of stars and required extensive setup. But by then, it didn't matter. Earth had earned respect not through fear of their weapons, but through their actions after victory. Captain Wells, now Admiral Wells, approached the central podium next. "The Joint Defense Fleet is operational," he reported. "Ships from 20 different worlds, working together to protect trade routes and respond to natural disasters. Former Council vessels now serve alongside ships they once looked down on." In the public gallery, Tom Rogers watched with pride. He had survived the attack on Base Alpha, and now he served as an instructor, teaching mixed crews from different species how to work together. The memory of his lost friends still hurt, but he knew their sacrifice had led to positive change. The former Admiral Gray watched the proceedings from a detention facility. His face showed no emotion as he observed the new galactic order he had accidentally helped create. His attempt to suppress humanity had instead lifted all species to new heights. Back in the chamber, representatives discussed trade, cultural exchange, and joint scientific projects. Species that had feared each other for centuries now worked side by side. Earth's example had shown that cooperation brought more benefits than domination. Commander Stone stood again, this time to sign the final document, the new Galactic Charter. "Let the record show," he said, "that this charter guarantees the rights and freedoms of all sentient beings. Never again will any species face attack simply for growing too quickly or being different." As he signed, Dr. Miller's tablet lit up with an alert. The Joint Science Team had just made a breakthrough. By combining Council shield technology with Earth's quantum physics understanding, they had created something entirely new. It was proof that together, they could achieve more than any species could alone. In Earth's orbital shipyards, the first vessels of the new era were taking shape. They combined the best technology from a dozen worlds: Council energy shields, Earth's stealth systems, and innovations from species that had previously been ignored as primitive. 1 year ago, Stone addressed the chamber one final time. The galaxy believed that power came from having the strongest weapons or the most advanced shields. Earth proved that real power comes from how you use what you have. and how you treat others. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from countless worlds. We could have become the new council, ruling through fear. Instead, we chose to build something better. Together, we've created a galaxy where being different is no longer dangerous, where strength means protecting the weak rather than controlling them. The chamber erupted in applause. Outside, ships from 100 worlds flew in formation, their crews no longer divided by species or history. They were all part of something greater now, a galaxy where cooperation had replaced conquest, and where humanity's greatest victory had been choosing peace over power. The story of Earth's fierce retaliation had become more than just a tale of military victory. It had become the story of how humanity helped reshape the galaxy into something better than anyone had imagined possible.